Oh, hi, it's your old buddy Zoo, and this is the Ayaneo Konkr Pocket Fit 8 Elite. But wait, Zoo, you're probably asking, didn't you swear off Ayaneo products because of their terrible crowdfunding nonsense? Are you some kind of hypocrite? What happened to your principled stand? Well, I'll tell you, my old buddy Jaylash ordered this for me in October 20th of 2025, and it showed up at my door this Saturday in April of 2026. That's almost 6 months. We legitimately both forgot about it. I was out mulching in my front flower bed when the FedEx man rolled up, and he gave me a box, and in the box was the Konkr Pocket Fit. What's this? A screen protector, some joystick caps, a case, and another case. I was legitimately confused. I posted a picture on the Twitters. I posted a picture in the Discord. I briefly considered that maybe it was some sort of attempt from Ayaneo to just, hey, we'll send him one. Maybe he'll review it. Maybe he forgot. I just couldn't piece together what happened. And finally, Jaylash messaged me and he said, hey, remember when I drunk ordered that at the end of October last year? And I said, no. And so he showed me the screenshot and I said, oh, I do remember. My God, it's been almost 6 months. So no, I'm not reviewing it. I haven't even taken it out of its protective plastic case. I'm going to put it back in the box. I'm going to mail it back to Jaylash, and I'm not going to mess with it. But what I am going to do is I'm going to take this serendipitous opportunity to talk about a problem we have in the retro handhelds community. And it's not Ayaneo. Everyone calm down. I'm not going 3 for 3 and dunking on them. And while the timing of this is nothing short of amazing, it's a much more expansive problem. If you've been following retro handhelds for any length of time, you probably know how things used to work. You would find out about some cool device, maybe from the crowdfunding website, maybe from a different website, maybe from Reddit, maybe from a YouTube post, whatever. You would say, okay, that looks cool. You'd put your money down and you'd wait. Maybe 2 months, maybe 3 months, maybe even 4 or 5 months. Sometimes you would basically forget you even ordered it until it showed up at your door and you would say, oh yeah, I think I remember buying that a couple months ago. And that was just kind of the deal. They were these small manufacturers based almost exclusively in China. They had small margins, they had small operations, they were running limited production batches with supply chains almost completely out of their control. Crowdfunding and pre-orders weren't really a marketing strategy. They were how a lot of these companies financed production of the units in the first place. Your purchase was less of a transaction and more of a handshake agreement where you'd say, this looks cool. I really hope you can make it. I'm going to send you the money, and I hope you eventually send me the unit. And look, for the most part, things showed up. Sometimes it took a while. Sometimes it took a long while. But it was early days. And most of the stuff you were buying was less than 100, maybe 150 bucks. So it was kind of low stakes compared to what we're dealing with now. But then something changed. Around 2022, 2023, the pipeline really started to mature. Most of these companies built actual logistical infrastructures. Ambernick went from shipping your stuff in a couple of weeks to getting it to you in a couple of days. Retroid got there. Even some of the new players in the scene started shipping stuff way faster than the old guard used to. And for a minute, buying a retro handheld felt like buying a normal product. You put your money down, and you could reasonably expect it to be at your house anywhere from a couple of days to a couple of weeks. Which is honestly why Ayaneo's track record over the last year or so was so remarkable. Because by the time they were stumbling, almost everyone else in the industry had caught up and moved far ahead. I've done a couple of dedicated Ayaneo videos, and I'm not going to rehash it here. The too long didn't read is that Ayaneo has a pattern. You get this big announcement, you get a launch date, you get specs, you get a price. Sometimes it's a good price. And then there's a delay, and then the CEO makes an announcement. There's a social media post, there's something on Indiegogo. We had to jack the price back up. It's going to take a little bit longer. We actually can't make that many different versions. And then there's a new launch date. And then hopefully, maybe, some of the product you ordered shows up. And then sometimes the product is great, like the Konkr Pocket Fit. And sometimes the product isn't really what you were promised. And then the cycle repeats itself. And for the better part of the last year, it was kind of easy to look at it and say, okay, that's just how Ayaneo does stuff. That's just how that specific company operates. Other manufacturers don't do it. They ship stuff on time. Ayaneo, they got some issues. But what's happening in the retro handheld space now isn't an Ayaneo problem. It's an everyone problem. Now, Ayaneo is certainly caught up in all of this, that's sure, but this time it's not really their fault. They're just one of the more visible casualties of this overall movement sweeping across the industry. Starting around the end of last year, the global price for RAM and for high-speed storage, those components that power most of our higher-end Android and x86 devices, the prices started to shoot way up. And it didn't just go up a little bit. By some accounts, the price of all these components has tripled compared to what these manufacturers had originally budgeted for. Now, the community has been calling it RAMpocalypse, RAMageddon, Ram Truck Month.
Hurry to your local dealer for a great deal on a Ram truck.
No, I think actually that last one is for Dodge trucks. I gotta lock in a little bit. Why is this happening? Well, some people think that Sam Altman did some supervillain tier wheeling and dealing and confused the entire market. But the more generally held theory is that AI data centers are consuming more and more processing power, more and more storage, and so they're pushing the market to make more and more RAM, which has the unfortunate side effect of making the RAM me and you buy, or these companies buy for their handhelds, much more expensive. And so right now, these massive AI data centers are able to spend a lot more than, say, Retroid or AYN or Anbernic. And so those handheld manufacturers are essentially f***ed. Either they eat the cost, they raise the prices for you, or they just stop making hardware. So what does that look like in practice? Well, let's take this Konkr Pocket Fit 8 again as an example. Ayaneo just confirmed that this batch of pre-orders they just shipped out is probably the final production run. The last batch ever, essentially. They're honoring existing orders, which is why Jaylash's order got sent to me, and they might be doing one more restock, but essentially after that, it's done. The price of components has made manufacturing it at a reasonable retail price essentially impossible. It was effectively discontinued before a lot of people even knew it existed. And it's not just this one device. Ayaneo has also halted production on the Pocket VERT, the Pocket S Mini. They froze pre-orders on their next two Windows handheld. AYN had to shelve the Odin 3 Ultra, and their shipping and distribution of the Odin 3 and the Thor, it's really been in shambles since Christmas. Retroid discontinued the Pocket G2. They got rid of the 12 gigabyte configuration of the Retroid Pocket 6. Even Valve, the company who makes the Steam Deck, they've had their OLED model going in and out of stock for a while, and they've pushed the Steam Machine launch back to an indeterminate future date. Intel announced CPU price increases up to 10%, and then AMD followed up with increases of up to 15%. This is not a small thing, and it's also not an Ayaneo thing. It's an industry-wide event, and we're stuck smack in the middle of it. It sucks. I hope it stabilizes sooner rather than later, but right now the hobby is all over the place, especially with higher-end devices like the Konkr Pocket Fit. Well, Gary, the clock on the wall is saying it's time for What Did We Learn? And we learned that Jaylash's Pocket Fit showed up to my house to great confusion almost 6 months after he ordered it, ironically enough, the same week that Ayaneo effectively discontinued it. I genuinely don't know if that's the worst possible timing or the best possible timing. Regardless, Jaylash is getting his, which is more than I can say for a lot of people. And look, this stuff will probably, hopefully, sort itself out. Shortages come and go, supply chains adjust, things will hopefully get better. We started off in a very chaotic scene, and then we had a few years where buying these retro handhelds felt almost like buying it on Amazon or from Target or Best Buy. And we're not there anymore, but hopefully we swing back pretty soon. But right now, if you see something you want, especially if it's a higher-end Android device with a Snapdragon or DDR5 RAM, I would probably get it sooner rather than later. The traditional wisdom of wait a few months for a sale has a very real probability of turning into you can't buy it anymore in a couple months. And if you have something on pre-order with a smaller company and it's been a couple months with no updates, it might not be that they forgot about you. It might be that the parts cost 3 times more than they did when they took your money, and they're scrambling to figure out what to do. Now, that might be cold comfort for you if you ordered something in October and you still don't have it in April, but it's a reason. If this video gave you comfort, cold or otherwise, remember to like and subscribe and hype and all that jazz. Ring the bell, click the thumbs up, leave a comment on, I don't know, what's your favorite episode of Ninja Turtles or The Real Ghostbusters? That'll confuse the hell out of anyone that just skipped to the comments. They won't know what's going on. Anyway, mash all those buttons, help the channel grow. You know the deal. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.